Hello everyone, welcome back to Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. We shall continue the trial from here without any preamble. Mr. Brushel, your testimony, please. The interview, a recap. The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She's admitted to it as much herself. The only thing that touched the Jew's lips during the interview was that mug. And nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. A nice testimony. Clear, succinct, and without room for doubt. Ah, sucks. You really think so? I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice. You may begin your final cross-examination. Right. I still have one trump card left to play, and I won't let this trial end until I use it. Okay. Yeah. And just my microphone there. Now one thing, you sure? Yep, sure as sure can be. Well, with one exception. One exception? What? Journalist Spark Brushel does interview, leave studio, end quote. Ha. Come on. It's a joke, get it? Not funny, I know, but still. Did somebody leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard something like that before? Now that we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts, I'd like to tune the audience to a defense attorney before returning to the testimony. Do you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night? Yes, I think so. I think one thing might have very well have left the studio that night, actually. I started something that has vanished from the crime scene. By which do you mean something other than our witness? Of course. Don't tell me. Vera Misham? Believe me, any comic relief I may provide is entirely unintentional. Now let's see what you've caught for us, Mr. Justice. Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show it to you. But I do have evidence that shows how it could have been taken from the scene. The letterbox. Not that. Yeah, I think it was the letterbox. He put something in the letterbox, according to Brushel himself. Take that! This is the only link between that studio and the outside world. A letterbox? What did Mr. Brushel just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter. Yeah, I said that, and yeah, it was true. Furthermore, he went on to tell us that he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in a letterbox. But that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night, the yellow envelope disappeared.
Objection!
Yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing. Huh? Here's a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Misham. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared? Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. That seems very important to me. Very well then, the witness will add this to his testimony. You got it. I still think this fails to change anything, Air Forehead. I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for. A letter was put in the post from the studio, but I hardly think that matters. Okay.
Hold it!
You sure about that? Well, to be really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies for the whole time. One of those candies might have been poisoned.
Objection!
Yet, at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrance of mint filled the room. And no mint residue was found. It was a long shot anyway. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee? Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof, the possibility is there. I can feel it. Just maybe not prove it. Yeah, not yet. And possibility isn't going to cut it. Not now. Mr. Misham ingested that poison via a route other than that coffee. Proof is possible. Here goes nothing. You do understand what we need, yeah? Proof, Airfrowhead, not possibilities. Of course. And Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof. Oh, what did you say? I have proof of the disappearing envelope. As I am writing a letter, I did! Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume? Of course, which means that envelope has a stamp on it. A stamp. Oh! As we all know, stamps come with dried glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it. By licking the stamp.
Objection!
Feh! No one worth talking to actually licks stamps in this day and age.
Objection!
Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead, after all.
Objection!
Okay, so he licked the stamp. But wait, how does that explain the anthraquinine on the rim of the coffee mug?
Objection!
If you lick the back of a poisoned stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes? What would then happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth, Those traces on the mug weren't what the killer was doing. It was the other way around. What? The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Misham. Mr. Misham poisoned the coffee mug himself. Probably not intentional. Order! Well, that does it? Recall, if you would. An atropine is a slow-acting poison, yes? The poison entered his body when he put the stamp on the envelope. But his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lips to that cup of joe. You have something to add, Mr. Brushel? Uh-oh. His nose is picking up another scent. As I believe I mentioned earlier. Well, that's the thing, see? After he put his letter in an envelope, Mr. Misham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp. A so-called poacher stamp, end quote. But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one. Maybe he just run out? Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps, not a single one. That does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated with poison? Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. It makes proving that the stamp had been used was poisoned possible. Good show. You can't even prove there was a stamp in the scene in the first place. Well, let's hear what the defense has to say anyway. Where is your evidence that proves the existence of this poison stamp? Well, that is actually easy. The tiny frame.
Take that!
Well, that certainly is a cute little frame. And by little, I mean really little. It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I noticed that too during my inspection. So what? Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important. Missing something? Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Canine residue. What? Why wasn't I told about this? The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe an inch wide at most. You aren't insane. Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps? Order! 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 The poison stamp was in this frame? Impossible. Prosecutor Gavin, why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it there so he could commit suicide if the mood struck. You know, can I say something? I had a thought, see? What, Mr. Brushel? And please stop jittering around like that. The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too, end quote. So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon, aimed at him.
Objection!
Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights of fancy to the Gaviner's song lyrics, please. Finally, something we agree on. The stamp was a murder weapon. Nonsense. Wait. The stamp was a murder weapon? Nonsense. Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one. Oh, I disagree. Come again? Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Due mission hid from the world. He avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail. The mail? Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but you knew red letters, a stamp would be the perfect weapon. Ridiculous. Where's your proof? I want proof. Show us evidence that this poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon. I might not have evidence, per se, but things are finally starting to come together. What is it, Apollo? What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling. I think I know what happened. I don't believe it. I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Mission was killed. Well, follow us in, Mr. Justice. A certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you how someone with the intent to kill sent Mr. Misham the stamp of death. This one.
Take that!
Isn't this the envelope? The one from 7 years ago? Think about the text of the letter again. There were 2 pages in the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor. In other words, if I have this straight, the stamp, poison, on the stamp, lick, lick, gasp, end quote. Now, what if he had done exactly as the letter asked? He would sign the document, put it in the envelope, and put a stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in this letterbox. Then he would put it in this letterbox. 15 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between affixing the stamp and mailing the letter. But the clock started ticking, and when the time came, he drew his last breath. And the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene. Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system. Such a splendid imagination you have, Throwhead. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So, this poison stamp was inside this envelope from 7 years ago, yeah? Is that what you'd have us believe? Really? Well, it is a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility. Yes, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? A poison stamp in this envelope? A stamp that then became the murder weapon? How do you intend to prove the seeming coincidence? Wait, well, It was 7 years ago, and we don't even know who sent that letter. And you answer, is silence, I see. Very well, I move to... It's not nice to pick on the Fräulein Clavier. What? Ah, Emma! Wait, what was Kristoff doing there? Ah, Emma. Well, like my Kristoff Gavin impression? Did I sound like him? Wait, oh, it was her. It wasn't Kristoff. Don't quit your day job. Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, Fräulein Detective? Someone has to come dig you out all of the mess you're making of this case. Mess? You know, none of this would happen if you just trusted in science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in that envelope. Easy. Care to explain yourself, Fräulein Detective? Glare at me all you want, but science is on my side. It's all in the residue, right? That's right. The poison detection spray. Produce the envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court. Ooh. Okay. Ah, look at that. Well, would you look at that? No mistaking it. That's the atropine residue. I don't believe it. A murder weapon from the past? Now, 7 years later, it bears its fangs at last.
Objection!
Absolutely outrageous. Tell me why. Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago? Well, there's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Mission figured it out. Figured out what out? He realized that the person who sent the letter wanted him dead. So he sent his reply with a different stamp, and put his decisive evidence in the frame. What? You're still here? Can I make a statement here on the record? I, Spark Razor Tooth Brushel, claim the scoop is mine. Drew Misham killed in cold blood. By sender of 7-year-old letter, end quote. No, maybe something more succinct. Star falls after 7-year delay, end quote. There we go. Order. I see no room for further argument here. Though I admit, this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp is ticked straight to afterlife. Right, stamp is ticket straight to afterlife, end quote. Uh-oh. I think the witness has a bad influence on our judge. I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of that letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant. Apollo, I think we just won. Very well. This court finds the defendants...
Objection!
Wait a minute. What were the jurors? Is this the bright future of our legal system? Prosecutor, Gavin? I take it to the afterlife from 7 years ago. Tickets from Gavin News shows are invalid after 2 weeks. But it doesn't make sense in any other way. It boggles my mind that so many people haven't noticed this. There's a fatal contradiction in Air Forehead's claim. A contradiction? A poison stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago. Whereupon it was framed, until now. If that's the case, then why would Drew Misham have done what he did? Emma explained that. He must realize it was poisoned. Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Misham sensed a trap, and put the stamp in a frame. I do not debate this, but this begs the question. Why, 7 years later, did he use that stamp on the night of the murder? Surely you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Misham simply forgot? He put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk for 7 years, and forgot? You expect us to believe he's spraying the trap on himself? Well, I admit, this is all quite shocking myself. It does seem highly unlikely that he would fall foul of a trap that had been sitting on his desk for 7 years. Apollo, I don't think we're winning anymore. I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to the reality. We've been waiting for you.
Objection!
Okay, and how do you explain the poison stamp that was in this envelope? The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to court for us? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed.
Objection!
What about the atrocanine residue, huh? Oh, I agree, that does seem to be atrocanine residue. But as for it, it's certainly no stamp. Yeah, but even if your precious poison stamp did exist, Dream Mission never would have used it. That is all. I believe we've come to a conclusion. Again. Apollo, were we wrong the whole time? I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be coincidence. I'd like to bring some closure to this issue sometime this year. Mr. Justice? Yes, Your Honor? Let's review the facts and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Dream Mission received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atrocanine on the document inside that envelope. A similar trace was also found at the crime scene, on this tiny picture frame. The defense has indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope. An envelope that left the scene of the crime with the poison stamp on it. Yes, but even if this envelope contained a poison stamp, and Dream Mission, knowing this, put it in a frame, he never would have used that stamp. I'm afraid you're right, which means there is a fatal flaw in the defendant's case. I have been on the wrong track this whole time, I'm sure of it. The traces of atrocanine, the envelope, the frame, and Dream Mission's mysterious death. They're all connected somehow. Now, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion for us? The defense stands by its case, Your Honor. We've seen that the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense, which means that one of our clues must be a fake. A fake clue? Fascinating. And if we find this fake, your wild fantasies will prove quite reasonable, yeah? The fake clue that's thrown us off the poison's trail is none other than... Dream Mission. The victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand. I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself.
Objection!
Congratulations, you've completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger? It makes a good story, I'll give you that. The fake clue. Fakes. Forgeries. I know that face. That's the I just had an idea face. I don't know if I'm right. I'm going with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake? Come again? 7 years ago, a forger sniffed a trap and stepped aside. 7 years passed. Now the forger stumbles into that very same trap and dies. Why? That's what I want to know. Because the forger who was killed was a fake. Here we are again. The victim was a fake. One forger smelled the trap. One forger fell into the trap. That's 2 forgers, and one of them was a fake. Order! So you were telling us that at Dream Mission, the victim was a fake? Well, if he was the fake, Who was the real forger? You better not be claiming that there was some kind of switcheroo. I'm afraid you're going to have to back up your story. Mr. Justice, show us just who the real Drew Mission was. If Drew Mission wasn't the real forger, there's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honor. Forger Drew Mission was himself a forgery. The real forger was his daughter.
Take that!
There can be only one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Misham is none other than his only daughter, Vera Misham. Order, order, order! Mr. Justice, this is going to out on a limb even for you. I can't even agree. I mean, Vera, a forger? Let's consider it for before you weigh your office entirely. If you look in the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery had been taking place in that studio for quite some time. The forger wasn't caught in that trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger. Well, actually, that does make a certain kind of sense. One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints were found in the forger's studio. Drew Misham's and Vera Misham's If we know that Drew Misham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility by process of elimination. The forger was Vera Misham. Well, fascinating. Vera Misham? You've been paying attention to the trial so far? Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger? Drew Misham? Was that an expression of emotion I saw on her face? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin's face. I'm used to being stared at by Fräuleins, believe me. Though they usually talk to me too. Tell us, were you the one who forged those works of art? Yes. Whoa. So, the forger Drew Misham was you? Yes, it was me. What? What? The court was in an uproar, and it wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess. To be continued. Awesome. 28 minutes, nice. And that is where I will end the video. And next time we shall continue with the second part of the trial. So then, until then, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and hit that like button, and I will see you all next time. So until then, take care.